What up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Cafecito and Canes Live. Thank you for being here, joining me while I sit here and talk some Canes with you guys. It's the final live stream of the off season because in a few days here we're gonna get going. Got the Gators, of course, week 1, and FAMU, Ball State, et cetera after that. So should be a fun season. It's one I'm very excited for. I haven't been this excited for a season in a long time. Honestly, probably 2017 was the last season I was this hyped for going in. And look how well that one turned out. And I kind of get the same vibes from this one. Got some improvements were made last year. And in the offseason, even more improvements were made. The cherry on top being going out and getting an elite quarterback, a dynamic dual threat quarterback to help lead this squad. So that's obviously number one thing I'm most excited about, but there's a lot of things I'm excited about for this season and I can't wait. And, but all that aside, I'm ready to talk about this Gator game. Now that camp is over, let's dive in a little more like in depth into this matchup. So, obviously, yeah, I'm nervous. I'll admit it. It's a rivalry game. How can you not be nervous for a rivalry game? The only times I wasn't, I remember being a fan back in the early 2000s and not really being nervous for any game, knowing that we were going to kick everybody's butt. Really, aside from that, once we became mere mortals again and got brought down to earth, every rivalry game, you're going to be nervous. And I guarantee you there's nerves on the other side too. If there's a Gator fan telling you they're not nervous about this game, they're lying to you. But I really believe this one's going to be close. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope we beat them by 14 points, 17 points, something like that. I definitely believe this team is capable of that. It is week 1, though. It is the first time all these new faces step on the field together, and it's going to be in a hostile environment. I've said it a few times. If this game was in week 4, week 5, after we had a few tune-ups, and we've had that offense has had a chance to really, get oiled up and get going, then I would have a different prediction. I would probably have a different feeling of this game. But it's week 1. As we saw last week between Georgia Tech and FSU, anything can happen. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, but Jay Canes, he's got a 35-17 prediction. I like that. I hope it goes that way. My prediction, I'll tell you my score prediction right now. I'm not going to push it to the end or anything. My score prediction right now is 27-24 Miami. I think it could come down to either a field goal or a last-minute stop on defense or a turnover, but I do think it's going to be close. Again, hope I'm wrong. But as for matchups, I think let's just dive into that. So if assuming there's no inclement weather, assuming that the weather's okay, we have sunny skies for the game, and Cam Ward is able to go out and do what he's capable of doing, I like that matchup against Florida's defense. And I like our offensive line against their defensive line. I give us a slight edge in that department. I think UF's D-line is good. They're formidable. They're athletic, and they're big. They're very big. So, that could be kind of a stalemate, at least in the first half, but I think we can definitely wear them down. So I give us a slight edge in that matchup. Now, one matchup that I love for Miami is our D-line against their O-line. I think we can definitely cause some havoc in the backfield. And knowing that you can get to the quarterback with your front 4 is a luxury. And I think that's something that's going to ultimately help us win this game. Getting into the backfield with your front 4 allows, of course, your linebackers to roam. And that, of course, in turn helps your secondary. You let the linebackers roam. They're able to stop all those little dink and dunk kind of plays that UF is going to try to establish early. If they can establish the quick passing game early, then that'll worry me a bit. But if we can get on that first possession where it's that scripted drive, if we can get a stop there and we get a score on our scripted drive, I'm going to feel really good because then you get that 7-point head start. And like we've discussed on the show, that Gator team is not built to come back. They're built to, grind out close games and kind of get ahead and stay ahead, but they're not built to come back in a game. So if we get ahead by a couple of scores, it's going to be they don't have an explosive offense, at least not in my opinion. Coach AJ says, my only worries are secondary. I'd like to finish with the ball. If you asked me 2 months ago, I would have said the same thing. Yes, our secondary is a bit of a concern. We're not super, we're a little thin on numbers as far as safety goes. Again, this is me 2 months ago. But since then, Markeith Williams had an excellent camp by all accounts. He did put on a little weight, but he's very quick, very rangy. He can get his hands on the ball, and he can read offenses very well. So knowing that you're probably going to have a reliable guy in Markeith Williams, at least in the 2 deep, I think it's a very good thing because that's not something I was necessarily counting on. I thought, okay, he could be maybe a quality backup. I think he's going to be much more than that. And then you got Jaden Harris, who he's been working for this opportunity. And I think it's his time, and I think he's ready. He's big, he's fast, he's athletic. He loves to hit. He does not shy away from contact. So that room is starting to round out. And then, of course, you got the emergence of OJ Frederick, a 3-star, borderline 4-star recruit who I did expect big things from him because I knew about him coming out of high school. If you follow recruiting really closely, you know how good OJ Frederick can be. I just didn't expect to see it this soon in his true freshman season. Obviously, he hasn't stepped on the field yet officially, but I'm just saying in camp to look so impressive in a room where there's guys. I mean, Damari Brown, I think, is going to have an excellent season. Daryl Porter was having a great year last year until he hurt his ankle. But, if you got him, you got Damari, you got Jadis Richard, and now you got OJ Frederick and Diani Hill, who you got in the portal. I know that room is starting to round out nicely. And let's see who else you got at safety. You went out and got Mish Powell. That was big. So you got in safety, you got Mish, Jaden Harris. You got who was it just talking about? Markeith Williams. So as far as numbers, it's starting to look a little better than I previously thought. And a lot of people during camp were saying secondary might end up being one of our strengths. I don't want to speak too soon on that, but it could end up being one of our strengths. We'll see. I'm more worried about their D-line stopping the run. About our D-line stopping their run. You are really? Why is that? I'm more worried about their passing game. If it's just straight running, I'm not too concerned. I like our front seven. Appreciate the play. Oh, thank you. Yeah, anytime. They're not running on us. Yeah, I agree with Jake Haynes. I don't see them running on us, especially if they start to get a little predictable. But I mean, if they're going to play from behind, I think they're not going to be running the ball too much. And Montrell Johnson, their star running back, who is a very good running back, solid. He puts up good numbers, and they were expecting another solid year from him this year. He, of course, got hurt early in camp. If he was fully healthy and he was playing, I can kind of understand that concern because, again, he is a very good back. But he's not going to be 100%. Billy Napier came out and said, yeah, he's he's doing great with his recovery, yada, yada, yada. But they're monitoring him week to week. That tells me he's not ready yet. That to me, that's coach speak for he's not ready yet. But I could be wrong. They could, he could be baiting us all into thinking that, and he's actually full go. But after a procedure like the one he had, I guess he had his knee scoped or something. He had that done in early August. We are still in August. You don't recover from it just like that to the point where you're 100%. He missed the majority of camp, it seems like. So, if he does play, how much of him, what percentage of him are you going to have? Just being honest. And it's kind of a drop off after that. I don't see their running back room as being that deep. Our running back room is very deep. That I can honestly say. Got to find a way to take that out of the game. Once he's forced to throw over 10 yards, his QBR goes way down. I agree. Yeah, it was impressive that he only had 3 interceptions last year. And I watched Mertz a few times last year when, if the Canes weren't playing and the Gators were on. I was like, let me put this on. Let me scout this kid, knowing that we were going to play them next year, which is now, I can't believe now it's in 4 days. But I remember watching and thinking, let me see this Mertz kid. I remember talking to Gator fans going into the season. They weren't happy. Some weren't happy that they got him, but he performed better than they thought. He was accurate. He was a good game manager. But I remember watching and thinking, yeah, he's accurate. But yeah, it's a lot of short stuff. It's a lot of short stuff. So, they got to find a way to take that away while also not compromising the run defense. That's going to be the key. You can't get hit on the back end with those those halfback draw plays or counters or whatever, where defense, linebackers all have their back to the ball carrier. You can't get caught like that. That's one thing I'm a little concerned of, is us getting like schemed to death. The possibility of getting out schemed is definitely there, but I do trust Lance Guidry. He's had the entire offseason to prepare for this. They have too, but Guidry is one of the best D coordinators in America. So I have no doubt that he's going to have a pretty healthy defense. He's going to have all the tools in his arsenal available to him, which he didn't have most of last year. So I'm curious to see how he approaches this. Is he going to kind of hang back and let the plays happen, kind of like get a feel for Florida's offense? Maybe kind of not let them march down the field a little bit, but not be too aggressive at first, just to kind of feel them out? Or is he going to be aggressive right out of the gate? I can see both scenarios with Guidry. That's why I like him. He's kind of unpredictable in that regard. I feel like these are the type of opponents that play perfectly into Guidry's hands. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm really hoping. Once Bain and Kiko hit him, we'll have the edge. Yeah, Bain and Kiko, I think, tied for the team lead in sacks last year. They both have 7.5. That's crazy for a middle linebacker to have 7.5 sacks in a season. And the other leader was a true freshman who had to play D tackle a lot of the time because we were so shorthanded with injuries. But we're not shorthanded anymore. Bain is going to be coming off the edge a lot, and he's going to be on the field a lot. I know Florida is probably scheming for that. They're probably thinking about Ruben Bain, and they know he can really affect the game. But here's the thing. We have so many proven guys on the D-line. How can you block everybody? You can't give extra attention to one guy, because then you're taking attention away from somebody else. And you got Tyler Barron, you got Akeem Mesidor, you got Simeon Barrow, CJ Clark, and then the guys off the bench. You got Alston. It's Justin Scott. I don't know if he's going to play game 1, but you got that possibility. You've got numbers. Ahmad Moten, another guy that's really experienced. So they can't just zero in on one guy. It's like, okay, chip him, double team him, and we'll be fine. No, you got whoever's on the other side to worry about. Okay? That's why I like that matchup so much. Let's see, Hurricane Central. Yes, sir. See if I missed anybody. Nope, I don't think so. Oh, here we go. They're calling for rain right now. If it turns out to be a running game, we should dominate with our running back room. I don't know about dominate, because if it becomes like a one-dimensional game like that, our running game against their running game, I think it could be tight, as my prediction says. I think either way, if rain or shine, it's going to be a close game. But if you're forced to be one-dimensional like that, I do give the edge to Miami. Again, UF's top runner, it might be out for this game. We have Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher. Our one of our top running backs we just heard recently is ready to go. I'm not too surprised. I feel like they kind of gave hints, like when Fletcher a month ago or whenever it was said 4 is back. People thought, oh, does he mean the jersey number? People just assumed it was the jersey number, but I was like, I read into it a little further than that. I think he's like back. Turned out I was right. You got him full go. You got Martinez, who I think is going to be a monster this year. I think Cane fans are going to be very pleased that we went out and got him and added him to an already deep running back room. And then you got CJ. And then you got, who else? Jordan Lyle, who may get a couple of touches. Then you got Elijah Lofton, who did an excellent job playing running back in the spring. I don't know if they'll use him there. If I'm them, maybe in a couple of short yardage situations, if Fletcher's tired or something, maybe throw him in there a couple of times. Hopefully there's garbage time or mop-up duty at the end of the game and they get him some carries. Maybe Wheatley Humphrey, it's a deep room. 31-23 Canes. I like that score. I'm feeling that one. I really hope it doesn't come down to a field goal like my prediction says. That kind of game will take years off my life. I don't want that. Let's see. I looked at the forecast earlier. I didn't see rain likely. Yeah, whoever. I know they were saying Jay Canes. Yeah, they were calling rain for now. I'm just look at the weather app really quick. I've been kind of like peeking at it the last couple of days for Gainesville. They're saying partly cloudy, small chance of rain. It says like around 5, like a 10% chance of rain. So a small chance of rain right now for Saturday in Gainesville. That's right now. Of course, you guys know, whoever lives in the state of Florida like I do, that can change in an instant. It is August in the state of Florida. It one day to the next that can change, but hopefully that holds. I would actually prefer that. That way Cam Ward can do what he's capable of doing on a dry turf. FSU was supposed to dominate G-Tech in the trenches. I'm still more concerned with them having success running. You're more concerned with the Gators having success running. Hey, you brought up the Georgia Tech FSU example. I get it. After seeing all the stuff that happened week 0, SMU almost losing to Nevada, I think they were like 24.5-point favorites, something crazy like that. And I turn it on, they're down 24-13. And I forgot who tweeted it. Someone said, oh, Lashley still has trouble running the ball. Like, oh yeah, I remember. I do remember that. That's the thing. See, when Lashley left, that was the thing people just kind of threw out the window. Yeah, there were games where he could put up points, but as far as establishing a consistent running game, a consistent running attack, he could never do that for whatever reason. I don't know if it was his his scheme, his play calling, the offensive line, maybe a little bit of everything. But yeah, that was a huge problem with his offense. His offense, you need to hit big plays early. If you don't, it's going to be a long day. And that's why I liked what Mario was bringing, even though with Josh Gaddis, it didn't really, things didn't work out, to say the least. But I liked the identity Mario was trying to instill in this team. You had to rip off the Band-Aid that first year. It was bad. But by year 2, we were a power running team and we were running the ball down the throats of inferior opponents, which is progress. We weren't doing that the year before. We were getting blown out by inferior opponents. But all that to say, I like the culture that was instilled in these guys last year. This all started last year, okay? The culture of physicality and all that stuff in the trenches. I mean, it was night and day. From 2022 to 23, it was night and day different. I have a feeling it's going to be another step forward this year. Yes, you lost Matt Lee and Javion Cohen, but You still have Inez Cooper, one of the best guards in America. You still have Jalen Rivers, one of the best left tackles in America. You still have Kiko Maui-Noa, who's extremely talented. Started as a true freshman last year, was really, really good. You brought in Matt Carpenter, super experienced. He's big, he's strong. You got Matthew McCoy, who whenever you rotated him in last year as like that sixth lineman, there were times, I remember in the Georgia Tech game specifically, there were a couple of series where Cece had to come out and he had to, come in at right tackle for Cece. He had to take a break. I guess he was nicked up or whatever. And nobody really noticed. I don't think anybody ever noticed that they did that switch because he played so well. And there were other times on like jumbo packages where he was able to block. He played like meaningful snaps last year. So Matt McCoy, I really like him it seems like he's going to be the left guard. I like him a lot. Pancake, I thought made some strides, and he's going to, I think, be that sixth or seventh guy off the bench. Or I should say first or second guy off the bench. You know what I mean? But definitely we have a deeper O-line. And I don't know. I just like the culture that was instilled in this team over the last year and a half. I'm not as concerned as, watching FSU and Georgia Tech because, man, seeing them get whooped in the bowl game. Again, I know, yes, they sat a bunch of their players and a bunch of guys opted out. Jordan Travis was hurt. I get it. Yes. All valid. You still got annihilated. I mean, that game wasn't close from the jump. I think they were, I went to the bathroom after kickoff and they were down 21-0. It was crazy. And then you go in and you lay an egg against Georgia Tech, who is a team that's, I think, much better than people think, but a team you should have dominated. I don't know. I'm not so sure about the culture over there. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm not as concerned after having watched that game. If anything, it gives the Canes an edge. This is the way I look at it. And I think Dono talked about this on a show like a couple days ago. It was good that Miami, I think, saw that and thought and maybe learned a lesson from it. Okay, it's like, okay, we need to come in prepared. We can't assume we're going to come in mid-season form. It is week 1. We got to mind our P's and Q's and make sure everybody hits their assignments, attention to detail, play with fire, play with violence, and, just make sure and check all those boxes because a lesser team can catch you this early in the season. The corners don't concern me as much with the way UF's offense is designed with the short passes. We just need to tackle well in space. Yeah, we definitely need to tackle well in space. I agree. That's one thing Georgia Tech did to FSU. They tackled well in space. FSU, they kind of bent but didn't break because FSU did a lot of the dink and dunk stuff and they kept everything in front of them. And when they had to get a big TFL or get a big sack, they got it. And they were able to kill the drive and either force a long field goal or force a stop. So I hope our defense can do the same. I don't know if we're going to get any takeaways. Maybe somebody will rip the ball out and get a fumble, but I don't know. I don't see Florida's offense taking too many chances unless they find themselves down 2 scores early. Then I could see Florida getting a little desperate. But if it's tight first half, yeah, we just got to make sure and tackle the guy in front of us. Don't try to do too much. That's another thing that can kill us on Saturday. Do not try to do too much. Okay? Don't try to do too much. No expectation from me as a fan. I'm going season open-minded. That's probably a healthy way to do it. J Miami. It's probably the healthiest way. A lot of analysts are picking the Gators. I mean, yeah, a lot of analysts are picking the Gators. A lot of analysts are picking the Canes. It's a little bit of both. And I think a lot of analysts are probably picking the Gators right now because of what happened in the Georgia Tech game. I bet you. Let's see, choice of beer for Saturday's game. That's a good question. First of all, Andres, are you going to the watch party in Orlando? While you answer, let me think. It's going to depend on what they have. I'm a big IPA guy, so if they have a good one, I'll probably grab that, or maybe like a Sam Adams or something like that. I don't get too fancy. I keep it simple. good. Go Canes. I'm interested to see who Saban picks between us and the Gators. That will be interesting. When they asked last week who is like their favorites to win the ACC, I know Nick Saban picked Florida State. Florida State was a lot of people's favorites, and I understand after the season they had. I feel like they're not in the weeds as much as we are with like they got rid of this guy and replaced him with this. The production goes down there. DJ I think was. I've been saying DJ is a downgrade from Jordan Travis. I'm told. I was saying that all offseason. Flo was saying it even harder than I was. Okay. But they've had recent success. Why go against that? So I understand the pick. So Saban picked FSU. And then I think Desmond Howard picked Miami. I know he's high on Miami a lot of the time, especially early in the season. So, some people are high on FSU, some people are high on Miami. So I don't know. As far as who will Saban pick, Saban's an SEC guy. He'll probably pick Florida. But we'll see. That'll be interesting. But you know what? Mario's like one of his former coaches. So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure. So there's a lot of team recruits pros that didn't want to compete. Our portal players were stars. We have quality high school recruits. Sorry, let me read that again. What people don't realize, a lot of team got recruits and portal players that don't want to compete. Our portal players were stars, and we have I agree. Voodoo IPA. I haven't tried that one. I'll have to try it. Let's see. Negative Bro. I'll be home cooking churrasco and some other stuff on the grill. Nice. Enjoy that. Yeah, I'm going to be at the watch party in Orlando, probably stressed out. If you watched a game with me before, you know what I'm talking about. But let me ask you guys, quick question. Now that we're closer to the game, are you more nervous or more confident? Like, are you even cockier Cane fan now than you were a couple of months ago? Because I'll tell you, for me, while you answer in the comments, for me, I'm more nervous, but I'm cautiously optimistic because I do look. I mean, I realize games aren't played on paper. I understand that, but on paper is all we have during the offseason. That's all we have to look at. So looking at that and looking at every possible variable and scenario, there is no excuse. There's no excuse I'm willing to accept at this point that, if we have a subpar season, if we go like 8-4, there is no excuse that's good enough for me to accept that. Like, look, you have all the tools now. You got rid of the bad culture guys and hopefully you got rid of the last bits of that this offseason. Because this program needed a cleanse. It really did. And from top to bottom, you got a new athletic director. You got Mario at the helm now, bringing money into the program. Something really, even in our glory years, we didn't have, but college football's changed a lot since then. You need the money. You want to be elite, you need elite money. And Mario's starting to bring that now. That's the main reason I think it's different this time. Last 20 years, it's been the same money, same people at the top, same support level, same lazy hires. And for a lot of years, it was the same athletic director. That's why, people ask me, oh, why you guys say this every year? Why is it? No, if you just do 5 minutes of homework, you'll see, oh, okay, they made like deep changes, like top to bottom of the program. Oh, okay, I see. You do a little homework, you see why. So that being said, there's no reason whatsoever that we shouldn't have a good season. Saturday is a one-game scenario. Of course, anything can happen. But like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm pretty confident that we can get this done. But it'll be the first time it'll be the first time that we see Cam Ward on the field. It'll be the first time we see a lot of new faces on the D line, as talented and as deep as they are, which I can't wait to see that as soon as, they gel and they get some snaps in. That first game is the first game. They haven't played together yet. But I'll throw a little caveat to that. Another reason I think it's going to be different is because for the first time in 20 years, A, we have depth, and B, in the practices, from everything I'm hearing, practices is a lot more intense, a lot more hard hitting, a lot more violent. Guys talking trash to each other, going back and forth. Defense has a few good days in practice, and then the scrimmage, the offense answers back. I like that. I like hearing that. I like hearing that neither side wants to give an inch. So hopefully, the offense is ready because they went up against a talented, fast defense throughout all of camp and throughout all of spring, So that's how it was back in the day. Practice was harder than the game, and they're trying to get back to that. And this was another good sign that I saw. Another good sign is they practice so hard and minimal injuries. Knock on wood, minimal injuries. Okay. That's a great sign, because you would think, if we're going to practice harder, if we're going to be super physical and all that stuff and really intense, guys are going to probably get nicked up and beat up. And it's a lot better than last year and the year before. I'll tell you that. I mean, we went into both of last seasons like shorthanded. We really did. Let's see. I meant the players are talking different this year. Yes. No. The players are talking different. It's definitely more of for the first time in a while, more of a business-like approach when they're getting interviewed. Love that. Yes, the culture is way different. Yeah, I'm concerned about Cristobal having us ready. Valid concern. I agree with you there. Valid concern. I'm more concerned about Cristobal middle of the season after a bye week. But of course, I know every year it's something. And this past season, before that Georgia Tech game, there was a bye week. A lot went down. And specifically with the quarterback situation, I don't foresee that happening again, because that was kind of like the monkey wrench into the whole season that no one really saw coming. Hopefully they got that covered this time. You got a quarterback that Mario trusts. That's his guy that he went out and got. Remember, that's something people are kind of forgetting. TVD wasn't his guy. Cam is his guy. He's like, I want him. It's literally him or nobody. We all remember early, in December, January, we didn't have a quarterback. We didn't know if we were going to have a quarterback. Okay. And it was he put all his eggs in one basket. I want Cam Ward. He got him. All right. So hopefully the leadership on the field and the leadership under center will make up for some deficiencies there. Because remember, like Cristobal or not as a head coach, he had his team. Would you say he had his team ready for that Ohio State game 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and when he was at Oregon? 3 years ago. It was 2021. Would you say he had his team ready? I would say they were more than ready, and they were missing Kayvon Thibodeau. So for him and we were prepared for Texas A&M. We got punched in the mouth early. We made a couple mistakes, but we recovered. I agree, Mitch. I just think X's and O's during a game, making adjustments, we'll see. Timeouts, all that stuff, we'll see. But getting us prepared going into a big game, I don't know. I'm not quite as concerned, just because we've seen Mario have his team ready for big games. The Rose Bowl, I mean, that's one people forget about. There's something different in this team, and you can feel it after watching Canes camp. I can see the mentality is all about hard work and winning. They have the Mario mentality on 2 years back. Yes, that's what I'm saying, man. Mario's hired ex-coaches to help where they are weak. That's impressive. Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught that, but he's even hired analysts or coaches or whatever. He's even hired people that help him with with clock management. Like specifically, like he specifically said that, which was big for him to admit that basically, yeah, I struggle with that. So we hired somebody to, to help us fix that. You could tell he's serious. If nothing else, you can tell Cristobal really like he's doing everything in his power to make sure to have as many chips stacked in our favor as possible to have a great season. See any good picks for week 1? I'd have to, let me think. You mean like betting? I'm not much of a gambler, but I'm thinking, I keep saying that Georgia Clemson game is going to be a blowout, that Georgia's going to destroy them. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, but it's like a 13.5 point spread or something like that. I don't know. Again, week 1, I could see that game maybe being close. I do think that Clemson, like if you pan out and look at it, Clemson is on like a steady decline. That whole what's up, Flo? Look who popped in. That whole, not wanting to take transfer players and all that stuff, that stubbornness is going to bite him in the ass. I'm not the only one saying it. Trust me. And if you look at their trajectory, they're like from when they won the last national championship, which was 2018 with Trevor Lawrence. Ever since then, it's like 11-1, 11-1, 10-2, 10-2, 9-3. It's like a steady, like one game or so a year decline. And I can't remember what was the last time they won the ACC? I think it's been a few years. Cause I know in 2021, Pittsburgh won it. We actually beat Pittsburgh that year, which is crazy. That was when they had Kenny Pickett. Last year, it was FSU. 2022, I can't remember who it was. But yeah, it's 2022. It was Clemson. Okay. But you see what I mean? Like Clemson is not powerhouse Clemson from 5 years ago or 6 years ago. They're just not. That run they had from like 2014 to 2018 was up, I would say even until like 2020, because Trevor Lawrence was still there. It was absurd, but you got to get with the times. Every team is getting better. Every team is getting better quickly, basically signing free agents, which is it's the equivalent of free agency. And they're plugging up holes faster than they ever have. So Clemson is going to fall behind doing that. I know my boy Flo, he's watching right now, he's really big on Clemson, that their defense is really stacked, and their defense is always going to be good. I just don't believe in Cade Klubnik. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't super impressed with him when we played him. I think that tight end that they had, that 6'8" tight end, I think he's still there. He made some plays that kept them in the game against us. So, I don't see them contending for the ACC like some people think. But one game scenario against Georgia, you never know. Canes are minus, yeah. And remember, home team gets 3 points usually, traditionally. So really, they're probably thinking, okay, Miami's probably like 5 or 6 points better than Florida. That's the logic I see there. Our recruits are better than Florida from the last 2 years. Top 5 with development is big. We haven't seen that in forever. We haven't seen good development in forever. And not just that, in today's college football, you don't have as much time to develop. I still think it's a big deal. It's a real thing. I mean, from when you recruit a kid and, he goes through, let's say he graduates early, he comes for springs. Okay. Spring, summer workouts, fall camp. That's 8 months of development right there for his freshman season. So it's not just year 1 to year 2. It's prepping for year 1 as well. All that counts as development. You got to know right away if you have a freshman that, like, let's say you develop him, right? You teach him, put him in the weight room. And let's say he goes out there and he has a season like, just to throw out an example, like Jaden Wayne had. Jaden Wayne, a lot of people had higher hopes for him. And I think, whether, and again, I'm not saying this is what happened with him, I'm just throwing him out as an example. Let's say someone like him that had kind of a disappointing freshman season, still needed to put on weight, whatever, you know, he ends up getting nudged out, or he goes and hits the portal on his own, whatever it was that happened. That you got to decide right away. If you have a season like that, you might have to move on. But if you have a season like Mark Fletcher had, or like Ruben Bain had, if you have a season like that where right away you're like, oh, we got a guy, boom, this one, he's the real deal. Let's keep developing him. Let's keep him here. Let's keep him happy. Let's give him playing time. But you gotta now, you don't have 2 or 3 years to make that call now. You have like that first year, if it's a guy you want to hang on to, or if it's a guy worth hanging on to that you see potential in, you got to know right away. And I think that's another area that I don't think Mario gets enough credit for. The haters want to come out and say, oh, that first class, he lost 5 of his 6 top guys. That was the one with Trevante Citizen and Nigel Lee Kelly. This is the thing. That wasn't really his first class. He got hired 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the signing day that year. I'm sorry, that's not his first class. It takes a full recruiting cycle is a full year. It's a full calendar 12 months. So to me, at least, and to many people that actually, have a brain and look at this objectively and aren't haters, his first real cycle was 2023. That was Ruben Bain, Mark Fletcher. Trying to think who else. Help me out. Who else was a freshman? That Damari Brown. Who else came in and got playing time? Chris Johnson. That was, to me, really his first class, where he had a year to scout and all that stuff, and he had a year to build that relationship. He did such a good job. Like identifying the right piece, like who was a culture fit, who he could use right away. And CC Maui Noah, that was another guy. He did a good job identifying guys that would be ready to go right away. So the scouting department, is what I'm trying to say, did an excellent job. Exactly. Norvell goes into the portal. That will only help for a year or two at most. You need to build a program with your recruiting like Mario's doing. I don't disagree. Now I'm worried. Larry Bluestein says Gators 28-24. Feel like the Twilight Zone. Will they win the line of scrimmage turnovers? Talk me off the ledge. Yeah, that's a good point, Casey. He has 20 years of Kane fandom PTSD. Yeah, Larry, he said last year we were going to go like 6-6, 7-5. He wasn't far off. He said we weren't there yet, but I remember Larry Bluestein many times during this offseason saying, no, I think Miami's going to take a big jump this year. So he's probably thinking like how I'm thinking. Yeah, that first game, anything can happen. A lot of variables. It's in the swamp, all that stuff. He's probably thinking, yeah, maybe we slip up week 1, but once things get really rolling, especially offensively, we'll probably still have a good season. I don't think he's thinking we're going to have a bad season. He probably just thinks, we're not winning this game. But, I can't fault Larry for being honest. But yeah, a lot of things would have to go right for Florida, though. That's the thing. A lot more things would have to go right for Florida and wrong for Miami than like the other way around for that result to happen. Has that happened in the past? Of course it has. But I don't know. Just going with the odds, if I were to, I didn't, but if I were to bet on this game, I'd bet Miami. And that's objectively speaking. Awful transfers he took the first year, we can't complain about. Thank goodness he weeded them out. Yeah. And there was some transfers from that first year that stuck around, like Daryl Porter and Mezzi. Great pickups. They're still here. And then who else was from that season? Oh, and another thing on on development, Matthew McCoy and Ez Cooper, they were both 3-star recruits from that first class. That really wasn't his class, but he kind of got him last minute. That's who he could get, but he identified kind of diamonds in the rough there. He knows O-line. So look how well they've developed. Is all-star. Our defense is all-star beater than when Manny. I'm not sure what you're saying there, bro. I'm guessing you're saying our defense is a lot better than when we had Manny. Defense will set the tone. Yes, they need to. Better. Okay. FSU was and is overrated. I really hope we shut them up this year. Bain, Clark, Barrow, and Mesidor. Barron will be rotating it with Mesidor and Bain. I agree with that. Gidry will have this team ready. He's played against Napier before when he was at Louisiana. Oh, good point. Okay. That's a good point. I did not think of that. Good job doing your homework there. Hopefully we will win the toss and defer. Yeah. All right. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Thank you for your questions, your comments. Thank you for the support. As always, we got 95 in the chat right now. Please go in and hit the like button and the subscribe button. Comment, share it with your friends. And I like this comment here by 904 Ken, and I'll end on this. Pundits are putting way too much emphasis on Cam Ward in the swamp and Graham Mertz being home. Not enough emphasis on Miami's run game and Florida's lack of capability to stop the run. No worries, in caps. Great take. Because when all else fails, which is what happened with Mario in Ohio State 3 years ago, when all else fails, you always can fall back on your running game. If you need to run some plays to quiet the crowd, if you need run some plays to like settle yourself down, you can always lean on a great running game and kind of open things up from there. But Juan, you tell me why we win. That right there, what I just said. And what I said before, maybe a minute or two ago, more has to happen. Like the ball has to bounce their way a lot more on their end than it does on ours, I think. Don't be sloppy. Don't start effing around. And I think we'll be fine. Anyways, guys, take care. Go Canes. Enjoy the game on Saturday. And I'll see you after that, hopefully to hop on here and celebrate.